The three that we're going to see today begin on page 36 of C282. It's available for ordering until February 22nd. And feel free to ask questions throughout. And Kim Tien is working the controls today. Anais is taking the weekend off. And Kim Tien, thank you for joining us. And so without further ado, I think we are ready to go. So here we go for Cellar in a Snap, Chile. And our first speaker is going to be Juan Ignacio. Did I get that right, Juan? Yes, all right. And from Las Veletas. And over to you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
And you.
So hi, everyone. My name is Juan Ignacio. I'm the sommelier and brand manager of Las Veletas. Today, I'm up here thanking you for taking time on your Sunday to do these, for showing interest in wine, showing interest in passion, which is what truly moves us, all of us. So we're going to talk about a little bit of wines, Michael. So then tell me if you had any questions, or I'll just go.
You go, and as the questions come in, I'll interrupt you.
Okay, terrific.
Okay.
So for all of you Opimian members, we are in the south of the Central Valley of Chile. Mainly all the people, it's related with the city of Santiago. So we're moving 300 kilometers, less than 300 kilometers south of Santiago, to actually a location named Alquihue. This is located in Maule Valley. Maule is one of the biggest and ancient valleys from Chile. We had a heritage of 400 years making wine over there. Even the next valley, which is a very interesting valley too, the Itata Valley, those two valleys had the most oldest heritage of the Chilean winemaking history. So it's a very interesting part of the idea of looking for more patrimonial wines and going to zones that we a little bit forgot about them when the people truly start the beginning of the wine in Chile from those valleys. So this is a very, very interesting and important part. But talking about a little bit more of how and which taste you will gonna get with the Las Veletas wines, we're located in the last portion of the coastal range hills in Chile. Chile is very marked between the Andes Mountains hills, which split the land between Chile and Argentina. And then we had a coastal range of hills that makes a depression in the middle of them, making the valleys that we had: Maipo, Cachapual, Colchagua, Curicó, Maule, Itata. All of these valleys, they are located in this middle part. And the last portion of the coastal range hills give us a soil very, very granitic, with a little bit of sledstone in the location of Las Veletas. And another good thing of that, we're in the last portion. So we're still having some influence of the winds, that they had a cooler temperature going into the land, into the continent, trying to achieve these Andes mountains at the end, and then making north towards to Argentina. That's how the winds move here in Chile. If you're in Limarí, in Casablanca, when Charlie starts speaking, then these are valleys that receives these winds and makes the wines more fresh and with a little lower alcohol too. We are up for 4 wines. The first one, it is a País. The País, it's the oldest grape variety planted in Latin America. So we could say that this was the first church wine at the same time. The grape País, I had the bottle here. It is the purple one. The taste of the País had a different feeling than the Pinot Noir, which is also a very light wine and medium body wine. The Pais had more character. Usually, traditionally, it is winemaking with the stems of the cluster. So at the end had more aggressive and hard tannins. And the interesting part of the Pais of Las Veletas is that we took all the grains from the grape, we took the stamp out, and we work it as we are being winemaking a Pinot Noir. So that gives the freshness. All the tannins that you will receive here, they are coming from the skin. And another very good thing of this wine, it's more herbal at the same time. We'll have some thyme, oregano, or even some bay leaf fillings with the gooseberries. Another interesting wine that you will get here, it is the Cabernet Sauvignon State line also. This is a Cabernet that spends some time into the barrel, but we don't use new oak barrel. We only used a second oak barrel. So the HDA, it's respecting a little bit the sense of origin of the Cabernet. With all this granitic soil becomes more, how we could say it, a little bit more nervous. The tannins will be a little bit more sharp, but at the same time, you will have all this richness, acidity on the sides of the tongue because of the same mineral soil that you had. It only had less than 13.5 alcohol degrees. Then you also had one of our bestsellers wines, which is the Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc. Those are the marriage of the father and the son. The father, it is the Cabernet Franc. Usually, this is a grape variety grown in Bordeaux, and they had this grape variety landed there in the region of the Bordeaux, very close to the Sauvignon Blanc grapes variety, and they merged together and born the taste and the flavor of a new grape variety, which is the Cabernet Sauvignon. So the father of this wine, it is the Cabernet Franc, all the structure, all these mineral fillings in nose, and also some more gunpowder fillings. With the Cabernet Sauvignon, which will give more structure at the end, a little punch and roundness to the wine. So those are very, very interesting wines. But for the ones that likes more power on the wine, and meaning, would you like to eat a lamb, a roast lamb? You will have the Petit Verdot and Cabernet Franc. So the Petit Verdot, definitely it is a great variety that in Bordeaux, it's not very grown for be the main part of the wine. Here, it is the country. We're located in Chile with a lot more of insulation here. So that's allowed the Petit Verdot to truly get a better ripeness. And that's how the Petit Verdot becomes more gently. Because the Petit Verdot in Bordeaux, it's used only for a 2%, 6% in a blend. The biggest, we could say, amount that they will use it in a blend in Bordeaux will be a 10% or even a 12, because it's like Chinese ink. It's very powerful, the Petit Verdot, and it's very dark in the color. And with the valley that had more insulation, but at the same time had the freshness of the wind and the mineral soil, it'll give more ripeness. So in Chile, we could say, more gently and generous Petit Verdot than the rest of the world, or the traditional Petit Verdot from Bordeaux. So those are a little bit the wines that we're up to. The first one, the Pais, it's a good replacement for a basic or not even a basic, but a moderate Pinot Noir. The Pinot Noir, definitely, if you're gonna get a good Pinot Noir, you're gonna spend money. And this is a wine that achieve all that customer and all that profile taste, we could say, and you will get it with the more an ancient grape variety that had more than 70 years old. Even though we don't know how old it is our país, because it was there at the moment that we go there and get there. So this is a very, very new cellar. This is the last Veletas project starts in June 2016 with the first bottle that we launched it with Harvest 2013. And since there, we're showing up the world that we are becoming trend in Chile. And all these beautiful labels also talk about that. So I don't know, Michael, if I'm doing good or if you had any question.
Fabulously, Juan, but we did, I missed it as well, and Jerry missed it. What are the percentages of Petit Verdot in 2, 3, 4, 5?
This grape variety, this bottle, it's gonna be around, usually, even though, so you will get more information of the wine, but during the harvest that we had since 2013 until today, always this wine, it's around 50 and 50, but we had a range from 45 up to 60% of the base of the wine, depending on the year. If we consider that the Petit Verdot, it's too structured and too powerful, we will give more Cabernet Franc that will refresh the wine and bring it a little bit lower and more gently at the same time. Good things about the Las Veletas wines, it's all the wines are up to age. So I'm very, we could say, honored when I open a bottle of 2013 and the wine, it's perfect. So there are not many wines in the world that could offer you this capacity or availability to age. And Las Veletas with the granitic soil, definitely it's doing awesome, wonderful.
And Jane said about the Petit Verdot, the drinking window 22 to 25, 2025. So it could go probably even 3 to 5 years in the cellar.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Even though there are some people that I don't truly like to share it, because we're not that old to realize if our wines are available to age more than 10 years. But definitely the acidity and the how well balanced it is, the Petit Verdot and Cabernet Franc. Some people says that probably we should age some bottles for 10 years. So up to them. But that's a thing that I haven't tasted yet.
Right. And you know, I think everybody who's been on the call that's have heard me go on about this before is that I do like older wines as well. I like them when they age in the cellar. So certainly from this one, I wouldn't be afraid to go 5 to 8 years with this guy. It's got lots of legs, and like you said, the acidic balance, and there's lots of fruit there for it. It's not going to get tired anytime soon.
No, at all, definitely.
Yeah, no.
And the Cab Sub and Cab Franc, the black label, it is more gently. It is more. All our wines are ready to drink, but at the same time, it's up to you the chance of saving them or forgetting them in the cellar. So when they are full of dust, you just show up. Oh, I got a bottle of Las Veletas. Let's taste it, and it's a surprise. So that's the interesting part. And don't forget about the patrimonial wines. This is a trend here in Chile and in the world, tasting vine trees that they are more old than 70, 100 years old. So we probably will say that I don't know if Chile today had the oldest vine trees in the world because of all the phylloxera going on in Europe and all that. But we don't have the phylloxera, and those are the only vine trees that remains living there. So good.
Right. And Paul is asking how many bottles a year you produce at Las Veletas.
Well, we produce each year a production of the budget for this year. It is 10,000 cases.
And those,
Of Las
do you
Veletas.
guys do that as 6-bottle cases or 12-bottle cases when
No,
when
every
you
time
those
that
numbers?
that we talk about cases, we talk about in 9 liters.
Ah, okay.
So
Right.
it is a case of a 12 bottles.
Of 12.
That's the
Right.
number. There are a lot of markets, even Chile, that you commercialize your wine in a case of a 6, but that it's just only because of terms of weight that the people don't want to hold a 12 bottles case.
Right.
Okay, so it's because of that. But,
and Mark is asking about the number of awards that you've got on your labels. Do you want to talk a little bit about the awards that your wines that Opimian offers have won?
Well, the awards, if they are well, the Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc had 95 points of Descorchados, was chosen as a revelation wine from here in Chile. The Petit Verdot Cabernet Franc of Las Veletas, it's being tasted by Tim Atkin in the last 3 years, and he's giving them each year 93 points, 92, 94, and it's going around there. But I'm not very into the scores. I'm more into the taste of the wine, because at the end, which is the chance that we get as a customers, it's trying to find products that we like. And we don't buy them because one year had 95 points or the other year had 92. If you're truly tasting origin, you will have the wine from that place in that location year after year, and it's not going to change very much, even though it's more the taste profile that had the judge in this case, even though if it's Tim Atkin, Genesis Robinson, or whatever, they had wonderful awards, and we received wonderful awards too. But the most important part, it's inviting you, people of the wine, to drink more wine and find which are the wines that I like, and those are the ones that I'm going to choose and follow. And that's how we made wine as well. We made the wine for the taste that we like and how we like the wine. No because someone is telling us how we're going to blend these wines or making them.
Right. And you know, I think I'm agreeing with you when I say one of the Opimian members, Jerry Armstrong, who's on the call, says that it's one of the best expressions of Petit Verdot he's ever had, and I like that. That's more important to us as a wine club and as a producer, that our members really like them. So thanks, Jerry, for that. And Paul Clancy was asking about how long we've been carrying Las Veletas, and Kim Chen bailed me out here and told me that it's since 2018. So but we're in our 3rd year of offering. So thank you, Kim Chen, for that. And
that in the race, people, we call it, when a horse is good, he repeats the race.
Right, exactly. And Juan, apparently our food writer has paired 2243 with a complete Chilean hot dog. Do you know what that is, or am I putting you on the spot?
Oh, you could put it in the spot, because the Chilean hot dog, the traditional one, actually today there are 2, but the most traditional one, it's named completo, and completo, it's the bread, the sausage, some tomato, some chucrut, so coleslaw, and it's in a vinegar, chucrut,
right,
and some mayonnaise at the top. So that's the traditional completo, which is the hot dog, and depends on the sausage. If the sausage is well made and balanced, definitely it's going to be a good pair.
Yeah, well, my mouth's watering for sure. So that's great. Well, thank you so much for going first, Juan Ignacio. We certainly appreciate that. And if you have time to stick around for the end, we often get some questions for all three winemakers at that point. So we will move on now. We're at about 25 after 4 here in Kitchener, Ontario. We always talk about the weather. If you guys want to put in how cold it is where you are, we have people across the country. It was -15 today, and we've got a wind chill of -20 here in Kitchener, Ontario. So please let us know. And I'm going to move on now to Charlie Villard, or Villard, depending on how you'd like to pronounce it. And the Villard wines we've had, I was able to visit that winery in Chile, and that's where I did get to try the Tanagra. Those of you who are on Facebook will have seen that I just talked about this having surpassed my favorite Syrah of all time. And so thank you for having made that, Charlie, you and your dad. And I will put it over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Pleased to see you once again, and happy to present the wines to all the wine lovers, fanatics, Opimian members. Always glad to present the wines. Well, as you said, I'm Charlie Villard. I work with my family, with my parents. Just to get you to understand a little bit, my father's French and my mother's Chilean. And Pavon, yes. And my parents met in Chile. My father was hitchhiking his way down South America, met my mother here, and they got married after 7 months. And then they got married again in Paris. And then they bought a Volkswagen Beetle and traveled, arrived until Afghanistan or Pakistan in that Beetle from Paris.
Wow.
Kept on by foot, India, they did everything, Southeast Asia, and then they arrived to Australia, and they stayed 17 years in Australia. And that's where my brother and I were born. And my father worked 17 years in the wine industry in Australia. So in 1989, we moved from Australia to Chile, when the wine industry here in Chile was not well advanced. It was mostly not so much in quality, more in quantity. It wasn't really exported. And my father had great knowledge of exporting Australian wines. So he started exporting Chilean wines, and he did a lot of consultants, and he was somebody that helped a lot, many different companies in Chile. And his dream was to make his own winery, and we established ourselves in Casablanca, that is a valley towards the Pacific Ocean. Just when we arrived, and when we arrived at the valley, there was around 120 hectares planted in the whole valley. Today there's 6,000. So we were really pioneers. We were the first boutique winery established in Chile. And
hey, Charlie, it's amazing how meeting a woman can change a man's life, huh?
That's
yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. So my father, obviously you say, why do you live in Chile? My mother's Chilean, so that she wanted to come back home. My father saw a great opportunity. He worked for a big company over there. And then we started this company, and it's a small company. In Chile, you have to know that there's mainly the industry is concentrated in mainly 3 companies, and small boutique winery was almost non-existent in those days, and now it's more and more common, but it's not as European style. And we're only 8 employees in Villard. And it's a very small team, and I work with my parents, and we make wines that basically only sell in restaurants mainly. That's why this pandemic has affected us so much. And some wine specialists around the world, and this is the only member wine. Also, we work in the Wine Society in England also. But we're mainly Horeca, so we do gastronomic wines. Then we're responsible, something I would like to explain to you. We winemakers, I believe we're just the middleman between the grapes and the wine. our job, what is this, is to express the better way that the fruit presents us every year, that reflects the climate, the soil, everything that was present in that year. So what is our job as a winemaker? Is to understand that grape, how it's trying to express itself with the quantity of fruit, the tannin that you can obtain, etc. You just have to express that the best way, not trying to change anything, trying to reflect every vintage, the climate, the quantity of rain, etc. So I think that many of the members already know Villard because it's been quite a while that we work with the Opimian Society, but I'm just going to go through more or less the ranges of wine that we do. We have the Expression range that are these labels, the white labels Villard, and they call Expression. What do we try to do in this range is we try to do very fresh wines with nice acidity. I harvest them a little bit earlier. And they have the less amount of oak as possible. For example, the Sauvignon Blanc, I do not use any oak at all, but we do keep it on fine leaves for quite a while, resuspending the fine leaves. So it's not a New Zealand style of Sauvignon Blanc. It's more, I would say, Loire style, because it's got more volume, creaminess, and it's more gastronomic. And then, for example, on the Pinot and the Syrah, I ferment these in stainless steel, and we keep the wine mainly in stainless steel. Well, we have a different lot that is for the Grand Vin that go in barrels. And after the aging, we do a barrel tasting, and we select the best barrels for the Grand Vin range. And this Grand Vin range, it's a very particular style that we've been making for years and years. So every time we taste the barrel, we go, okay, this is 100% Grand Vin. We do it with Ana Maria and my father. And we go through the barrels, and sometimes there's some barrels that they don't have this specific style that we're searching. And what we will do with those barrels, that will go into the Expression. So Pinot Noir Expression and Syrah, they have a percentage of the wine that is from the Grand Vin that is in barrels. So maybe, for example, the Pinot Noir Expression will have 80% of the wine was kept in stainless steel, all with the freshness, a lot of fruit, vibrant, and then it will have 20% that comes from the Grand Vin that has that is French oak, that will make it a little bit more, give it a little bit of complexity to the wine. It will give a little bit of oak. So the Expression range is all on freshness. I bet there's many of the members have tasted these wines. These wines are very fresh. They pair very well with food also. But when you move on to the Grand Vin range, it's a different story. This is much more gastronomic wine. They're more evolved. They're 100% barrel aged. We do a barrel selection. We also have a tonnellerie that my brothers take care of, and so we specially make the barrels for each of our wines. And these are wines that can age. For example, the other day I had a bottle of Le Chardonnay. I had a 2007. It was so good. It was incredible. These are wines that can age. They improve with the time. And
was that a beautiful honey color at 13
yes.
years old? Yes.
Yes, it was a little bit goldy, I would say, in that color, and it had a slightly like Jerez note, but very slightly. That gave a huge complexity. It was so nice. Luckily, I've got a couple of more bottles of that one, so we're gonna go. And then I'm gonna move on to. I wanna explain this wine because it's a very special wine. And for you guys to better understand what we do, this is our icon wine that is Tanagra, that in the Greek mythology is the daughter of the god of the wind, Aeolo. And Tanagra is a a little bit more than an hectare and a half on a very steep slope, but planted at 8,300 plants to an hectare. So it's very high concentrated plantation. And also it's not traditional, it's planted in bush vines. I don't know if you know what a bush vine is, but it doesn't have any wires or any poles, nothing. It's just a little more wild. And they're kind of bonsais, I would say. And so as we have this high density, every root system of each plant is fighting with the neighbor because the plants are so close to one to the other. So I have the same clones of Syrah planted for the Syrah Expression, and the difference of the size of the bunches is incredible. For the Syrah Expression, I can have a bunch more or less this big, and for Tanagra, they weigh half the weight, and they're small like this with much more space in between each of the grapes, because the concentration in the soil of plants makes that the plant produces less quantity of grapes. So it's got higher concentration in the grapes already for how it's been planted. Was that more or less clear?
That is clear. And,
Yeah.
and in fact, I was going to ask it and then you answered it before I asked it. So that's good.
And then, okay, so that's one particular thing about this wine. But then comes the winemaking, and the winemaking is quite particular because all the wines normally, what you do, you ferment them in tanks. And red wines, you ferment them in tanks, and then after fermentation, you will press the wine and get off the skins, and then you will put the wine in barrel. But what I do is I destem the grapes and I introduce the grapes with a funnel by hand, crushing them inside the barrels. So each barrel is filled with 2/3, but not with wine, with grapes. And each barrel, I designed some racks that are on 4 wheels. So instead of doing pump overs, what I do is that I turn the barrels 8 times a day. And that happens when it's on peak fermentation, 8 times a day. And after, when the fermentation starts slowing down, I will reduce. I will go down to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, once a day at the end of when it's macerating after the fermentation. So this wine never sees a pump. It never sees electricity. It's totally made, just turning the barrels. After fermentation, when the wine is already in wine, you have to press the wine. What do? I put the barrels in a little bit higher place. I turn them around with a cane that permits only the wine to come out, and all the skins and the seeds stay inside the barrels. Then I open each barrel, get the skins out, close the barrel back together, and put the same wine back into the barrel. So everything is done by gravity, and just there's no pumps, nothing. And then the wine stays for at least 20 months in barrel, depends on the year. And what does this do? I think white wines, many years ago, for example, in Burgundy, why do they ferment Chardonnay in barrels? Because it's different that if you ferment in the tank and then put it in barrel, the impact of the oak it shocks a little bit. So as you ferment in the barrel, the integration of the oak is much more subtle. It's much more integrated. But why can't that happen with red wines? Because red wines, you have the skins. So it's a bit crazy what we're doing here, because it's a lot of work. But the idea is about this, the integration of the oak, it just melts into the wine, and it gives and then just turning the barrels also gives a very smooth tannin. That's why normally in a red wine, we will do 3 pump overs a day. This one I will do 8 because it's so smooth that I try to extract a little bit more to get a bit more body power to the wine. And that's
it's the tannins that I noticed, Charlie, because I was opening the 2017, which is still relatively young, obviously. Yeah. But the tannins were already fully integrated and really soft, and but the wine's going to go a long time in cellar as well, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so for this offering, we're gonna have a wooden case of 3 bottles, and I'll sign the bottles, each one of them. And so you have 3 bottles in a nice, beautiful wooden case that says Tanagra. So this is this is the first wine that I made by myself before, when I integrated Villard. I made wines all around the world. I did all the mistakes somewhere else. That was the idea of my dad. And so when I arrived, I said, well, my dad created all the wines that I presented you until now. And I said, well, I wanted to get my name, get some kind of recognition. So we came up with this idea of the Syrah. At the beginning, I bought some grapes and it worked out very well. So we planted this new viticulture system. And since then, it's been well, it's our best wine, but more expensive and more recognition. So that was in 2005, my first vintage. I arrived to Villard in 2004 after working in many countries. And then 2017, I started with a new style of wines. I'm doing some natural wines. They're both orange wines and they're the JCVs. Maybe some of the members, tenders already were present the other day when I presented these wines, but it's a Pinot Grillo and a Semillon. And the Semillon is cloudy. I did it on purpose. I didn't ferment it. There's some fine lees at the bottom. And it was 30 days in contact with the skins. And then I've got the Pinot Grillo that is copper color. It's very orange. And this was 60 days in contact with the skins. And I just no sulfur, just natural yeast, etc. And just a little amount of sulfur before the bottling, because otherwise it wouldn't be able to be exported. And so these are the wines that we're presenting for this year. Hope you enjoy them. We always receive your orders in the middle of harvest. You don't imagine how it is for us to prepare the Opimian orders, but we're used to it. It's like every year, and it's getting a little bit easier. Before we had to put some stickers by hand and everything, but now we bought a printer that prints them right and well. So, but it's a fun job, the order of Opimian. Everybody, even my mom, dad, everyone gets into the labeling for you guys. So we do it with a lot of passion and love. So
we certainly appreciate it, and we've heard from a lot of members who are thinking of selling their houses for the Chilean, Argentinian offering, because they just can't choose which ones to order. And certainly you've made it even more difficult for me. So I don't know how about people are thinking that. But you know, for those of you who aren't on Facebook, I actually had said, I negotiated with my wife that because we're not commuting anymore, we're saving a ton on gasoline. And so part of that is going to my case of the Tanagra, is the money I'm saving from commuting. So I think everybody should absolutely do the same thing. And
does anybody have a question or would like to know something? I think
yeah,
I went through everything.
You did, and that's the thing. We had some questions here, and you had answered many of them as we went, so I didn't interrupt you.
Okay.
And people are really looking forward to receiving them, and that Tanagra case, the wooden case, is going to be something. And I think all of us always have trouble keeping it long enough to let it age. We just want to drink it when it comes. So if anybody has any other questions for Charlie, do you have to go, Charlie, or can you wait till the end?
I'm gonna be here, guys. So
yeah, so we'll have Alvaro do the presentation for Antiyal, and then if anybody has any further questions for Charlie or Juan, they're still with us, and we'll go from there. So thank you very much, Charlie. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Welcome to Alvaro to present the Maestro de los Maestros.
Right.
Hello, Charlie.
And hello, Alvaro. Thank you very much for joining us, no matter what time it is there. And I understand there was an issue around the difference in time. So
we misunderstand the right hour, so we get a little late, but we are now okay to present.
Thank you. You've made it in lots of time now, because we've got time to talk to you about Antiyal. And you won't remember me, but I did get to visit you. I'd become an area rep. And about 3 months later,
I remember you very well.
yeah, and I can still remember those lovely eggs that you were, that was the first time I had ever seen them. And perhaps you can talk a little bit about the eggs and how you make wine in those in your presentation today. But so Alvaro, a lot of you will have seen him in the catalog, and I'll just, without further ado, let you start, Alvaro. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Well, first I will tell you a little bit about our story, Antiyal. We started in 1996. I am a winemaker, and I used to work for a company that called Carmen Vineyards in Chile. And we, because of the connections of Carmen with the producers of California, I contact producers that work organically in Mendocino County, like Fetzer. I was very seduced by what they were doing at that time. And I started to experiment with organic farming in 1994, 1995 with Carmen. And in 1996, we wanted to start to produce our own wine, to experiment in organic farming without too much compromise, to try to be a little more free, to do what we thought that it's the right way to do it. So we start with 1 hectare in 1996, and we start growing organically from the beginning. In 2003, we bought a property that is close to the other. It was 7 hectares. Then at that moment, we start to certified also biodynamic farming. I get the knowledge about biodynamic by a friend also in California, Mendocino. Maybe you have listened about Alan York, that he was one of the top consultants in California about organic and biodynamic farming. And it happens that we made good friends. And then when I started with Antiyal and also consulting other companies in Chile, we invite Alan to help us to convert the vineyards here in my property, and also to work with us in some of my consultancy. And so in 2003, we bought this 7 hectare property that we planted also with Cabernet, Carmener, Syrah, Petit Verdot. And we start from the beginning, this property certified biodynamic. For us, it's very important that the agriculture that we made has been promoting organic and biodynamic farming from the beginning, from my beginning of like a professional. And I think each year it seems to be much more important about the benefits that you can provide with this type of farming to the environment, to the people that work in the farms, and also to the quality of the wines. And that's pretty much how we start in 2010. Little by little, we try to make our how you say, project like a human scale. We didn't grow like fast. We didn't went to the banks or we didn't have partners. It's just a family-owned company. We work with my wife. My wife is the manager. I am the winemaker, and we have a couple of one of my sons take care of the production, and another son help us with marketing and sales. So nowadays it's very familiar. And as I was telling you, in 2010 we bought another 8 hectares and 5 hectares more the next year. So we have now 20 hectares in Maipo, 10 with vineyards. All reds, and we have a couple of wines that are blends. That are our top wine, Antiyal. It's a blend. I have it here. Maybe you know already. It's the orange label with the Mapuche signs. Antiyal means sons of the sun, hijos del sol, or childs of the sun, and it's a blend of Carmener, Cabernet, and Syrah. It's mostly Carmener, around 50% Carmener, 30% Cabernet Sauvignon, and between 15 to 20% Syrah. It's aged in barrels, French barrels. I also use the barrels. Some of the barrels are the same one as Charlie used, because we were also good friends with Sebastian, that is in charge of the Nadali barrels. And so we also use them. And it passed around 16 months in barrels, half new, half 1 year, and around 10%, in this case, 2017, I don't know which one you have now. It's also aged in a concrete egg-shaped tank. Huh? Then we have our other wine is our Cuyen. Cuyen means moon in Mapuche, in Mapudungun language. And it's also a blend. It's like the opposite blend. It's mostly Syrah here, with a little bit of Cabernet Sauvignon, Carmener, and Petit Verdot. These four varieties participate in the blend. Normally, I co-ferment the Cabernet with the Petit Verdot, and Petit Verdot represents of the blend around 5 to 6%. Huh? And in this case, also, it's aged in barrel, but we use here 20% new, 30% 40% 1 year, and 40% second year barrels. Huh? And this is our Cuyen. This is for us maybe the black sheep wine. That's the one that we sell more. Huh? And then we have our top wine that I haven't showed you. It was like what you were asking me to talk a little bit about the concrete egg shape. This is a Carmener, 100% Carmener that comes from our best vineyard, our best block of Carmener, the same one that goes in the blend, in the Antiyal blend, in the orange label. But in this case, the wine we aged in these concrete egg-shaped tanks, and we keep it there for a year, and then we rack to another tank, and then we bottle. In this case, our idea was to produce a wine that can be the pure expression of the Carmener that we grow in Maipo, without the standardization that sometimes gave you the barrel, that helps a lot the barrel to express the character sometimes of the wine, but at the same time, you find the same aromas or the same character of the barrel in every wine. So my idea in this aim to produce a biodynamic wine that can be the pure expression of the fruit of the place, we age it in concrete egg-shaped tanks. So this wine hasn't touched oak at all, but it's a very top Carmener from Maipo. And you were asking me why we use
what would you say is the difference in the expression when you're doing the standard concrete vat as opposed to the egg shape?
Yeah, the thing is that in the egg-shaped tank, you don't have angles inside the tank. It's completely round without angles. So all the liquids, in this case, the wine, move because of difference of temperatures inside the tanks, and they create like a very slowly helicoidal movement that keeps the lees in suspension. The same thing that you made in the barrels that we call the batonnage, that we move the wine with a baton. It's to put the lees in suspension. Well, that same thing happened in the egg-shaped tank normally, without need to move it. It's not something that will quickly move. It's a very gentle movement, but keep the lees always in suspension. We noticed that because when we take samples from the barrels and from the egg tank, always the egg is troubled. They didn't decantate. So when the lees are in suspension, as you know, all the macromolecules from the yeast, the autolysis yeast, go to the wine, and the wine gain in volume, in softness, in what we can call the more grasso. And I think it's a beautiful evolution without the character of the barrel. So we have a very fruity, full taste wine, but without the complexity that sometimes can give the barrel, and so you can have the purity of the fruit of the Carmener in this case. This wine has gave us a lot of recognition in the last years, and I think it's very interesting wine to taste because it's something very different from other wines from Chile. And then we have the range of the Pura Fe or Pura Fe line. This is the label of the Pura Fe, and here we have a Carmener, a Cabernet Sauvignon, and a blend of Garnacha Syrah. All those three are in our range of Pura Fe, and in these wines are aged in more aged wood barrels that are 3 and 4 year old barrels. So the idea is to respect the fruitness of the variety here and express this character of a Maipo organic fruit in this range of wines. So that's pretty much what we do, what we produce here. I don't know if you have some questions or you want me to go.
Yeah,
deep in
do you have one open, Alvaro, that you would like to do just a standard tasting with? Do you actually have the 2341 open, the Premier?
Yeah, the Antiyal?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Or the Antiyal, yeah. And if you'd like to just go through the nose and the palate with us, I know Jane has given that to us, but we'd also like to hear your take on it. And maybe if you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Jane, how you met her, and I mean that we have to thank her for having found you, that's for sure.
Sure, we love Jane because we know Jane from my studies in Bordeaux. When I was starting my career, it was 1987. The wine business in Chile was very depressed. My father was a winemaker, and I was studying winemaking also in the university. And a professor gave me the opportunity to go to study in Bordeaux to make the Diplôme National d'Enologue in Bordeaux. So I married with Marina, my wife, and we went together to Bordeaux to study. And then I met Jane because Jane was from UK, and also she was studying enology in the University of Bordeaux. So we were a couple of years. So we studied together, and we made good friends, special because we were not French. We were from outside, both. So we have the same group. Also, maybe you know another one of the same class was Telmo Rodriguez from Spain. And also he was a good friend of us, and now he's a very famous winemaker from Rioja and other places.
So I get the impression something's just been opened for you, has it?
Yeah, thanks.
Yes.
Yeah. I need a glass because I have another wine in the other glass. So
Yes. And you're doing the Antiyal, the Val de Mapo? Is that what you're tasting now? Yes. Yes.
So normally, first the color for us in Antiyal are pretty deep color. Carmener and Syrah color very well in this Maipo, higher Maipo condition. It's a different, nice ruby red.
Love the color. Ooh. That is a concentrated wine, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, in Antiyal, well, we have vineyards that are around 17-year-old, and we have yields around 5 to 6 tons per hectare, not more than that. Cabernet and Carmener are 4 to 5, lower. Syrah a little higher, 6 to 7, but it's very low yield. And we wanted to have a concentrate wine, but with the balance. I don't want the power wines. Our idea is to produce wine that respect the elegance of the place and the balance. So in this case, I think has a lot of fruitness. It's a very young wine, the 2017 that what we have.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly for me, it's red fruit. What we get here, a lot of spiciness also, a little herbal character that has the Carmener. Well married with a little vanilla touch of very fine vanilla of the barrel. And it's open, I think, showing different layers when the wine is starting to breathe in the glass. Huh? And in the mouth, for me, we try to make wines that express the place in terms of balance, elegance. Long wines with soft tannins. I don't like the dry tannins. I always try to find the volume and the softness of the tannins.
Wonderful. Well, you have me wanting to have a glass of it in my hand, but I don't. So So we'll have to order it so that we can do so. Well, thank you very much, Alvaro. If anybody else has any questions, please put them in the chat for any of the three gentlemen that are with us today. It's wonderful. I can't tell you how interesting it is that yesterday I got to travel to Argentina vicariously, and today I'm in Chile, and makes me feel a little warmer. I can tell you from what people put in the chat that Fort McMurray won at -59, I think, and Grand Prairie, Alberta was a little behind at -54, but that makes me feel warm at -20 where I am. And it also, I don't feel so bad now. I'm not willing to move to Alberta for the cheaper wine. I'm willing to pay a little extra here in Ontario so that I don't have to have -59-degree weather. That's so if I don't see any other questions, there's a lot of thank yous here in the chat for both for all Charlie, Alvaro, and for Juan. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We really appreciate it. And as we've told everybody, Cellar 280. There you are. You've seen your picture, have you, Alvaro?
Yes.
And
Thanks. Thanks for that honor.
So that's 282. It's on sale until February 22nd. Don't forget to get your orders in before then. And what's relatively new here at Opimian very recently is we've been selling out of wines. We're selling out before the last day. So if there's a particular wine that you'd like, make sure that you get your orders in, because if we're out, we're out. We can sometimes approach them to get additional wine, but sometimes it just isn't available. So, and it's actually kind of interesting to those of you on the call, Opimian members, you might be interested to know that what I've just learned is that we lost an entire truckload of wine in Saskatchewan. It froze. There was wine from C282, and it was on its way to the Saskatchewan Liquor Board, and the heater in the truck failed, and they lost the entire truckload of wine. So it's a very sad Canadian only thing. Well, not Canada only, but frozen wine. So it's very unfortunate. So anyway, thank you again. And I see you've turned on your camera again, Juan. Thank you. Juan, Charlie, Alvaro, thank you. And thank you to all of the Opimian members who've joined us
I'll
today.
turn it on because you said that this probably will be the time of some questions.
Yes, and I'm looking to see, and we don't have any additional questions, and I honestly believe that it is because the three of you covered everything so well and told us everything about your winemaking process, and I can attest to the quality of your wines, as can Jane, of course. Thank you, Kim Chen, for being operator today. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you all again on the next one. Keep an eye out. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.